Me, that guy's being ironic.
Yeah. All right, let's roll.
Did he have flippers on?
Yes, he did.
He did have flippers?
Yes,
He's totally being ironic.
We're almost 6 feet apart. Almost.
This is actually about 12 feet. It just looks because of the camera.
It's the camera deal.
The camera.
Warning. The Catholic Man Show contains high levels of manliness. It's simple, really. You either want to grow in virtue and holiness, or you want to be a sissy whiny baby. If you choose to move forward, grab your whiskey glass, because the Catholic Man Show is starting right now.
Welcome to the Catholic Man Show. We're on the Lord's team, the winning side, so raise your glass. It's Sunday. We're recording on Sunday, so we're feasting, so you can raise your glass. I know it's Holy Week. You're probably listening to this during Holy Week. And in that case, don't be raising your glass.
Yeah.
Offer it up a little bit more. But
yeah, because the podcast comes out on Friday.
Thursday, Friday. Depends, sometimes.
Depends on how lazy
I
you
am.
are. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And what I'm...
that's an awfully negative way to think about it. Depends on how ambitious you are.
Or just depending on if I'm fulfilling my vocation as a husband and father.
Right.
Or I'm not.
Or other stuff. Right.
I'm really glad that you're wearing a mask today.
Yes.
Because I'm the one that gets to drink.
I know. Obviously these masks are awesome until you try to have a drink.
Yeah, you're not going to get a chance to drink this evening, apparently. Mm-hmm. Dave is not infected at all.
So I just got this. My mom made this. She made one.
I mean, it looks really nice.
It is. Actually, it's so comfortable. She even put a metal thing right here. It has a HEPA filter built in.
Wow.
Like, I might just wear it as like it's got mustaches on it.
Well, yeah.
She made one for everybody.
You are wearing it, so
I'm just like as a fashion statement.
Oh, after all this has passed.
I might wait for the Corona thing to die down. And then wear it.
And then make it
right. Because if I do it now, people won't appreciate it. No,
they won't. You're right. Well, welcome to the show, Dave. How many episodes do you think we've done so far?
Like 320.
I have no idea. I don't think we've hit 300. Maybe we have.
Is it not over 300?
I have no idea, actually. I don't feel like it's been 300.
Oh no, it's over 200. 220.
Yeah.
We blew right through 200 and didn't even pay attention.
Right. So
usually we like to make a ceremony of things.
I think that we need to, and we'll get everybody's opinion. Maybe they won't like this.
That feels good to take off.
But maybe we do something different on the show.
Okay.
Of talk about
all right
ridiculous things that we used to do as kids, in the first segment.
I like it.
I mean, it has been 200 some odd episodes, and we have not talked. We've not told the story of calling the police in church.
Okay, that was awesome. Well, kind of. At the time, I was terrified.
We were actually scared to death.
Pretty scared.
So Dave and I, for those who don't know, Dave and I have been best friends since we've been 5 years old. We've lived across the street from each other. We currently live across the street from each other. We've grown up together. Our family's grown up together.
Yeah.
We went to the same parish. We've all growing up. So Dave and I have a lot of stories, obviously, growing up. A lot of ridiculous things that both you and I did. Before we get into the drink, Let's tell the story.
Okay.
Let's tell the story. So calling the police.
Before we can tell the story, we have to explain, because we have a lot of, what's the generation younger than millennials? They have a name. I don't know. I mean, like, who cares? Whatever. But
whatever
whoever you guys are. There used to be this thing. It was called a payphone. And it was like this metal box.
That you put a quarter in.
And you had to put these things called quarters. This is way before you could, like...
way before cell phones.
How do you say? How do the kids send money these days? Not Vimeo.
Venmo.
Venmo. It's like Vimeo. That's not right. Venmo. Way before you just Venmo each other.
Right.
Your currencies.
Correct.
Your bitcoins or whatever the young kids are trading these days.
Yeah.
Your Charmin Ultrasoft. Yeah. And so you could take a quarter, this physical currency, and put it into the phone, and then you would be in essence purchasing a certain number of minutes where you could talk on the telephone, because cell phones were not
What?
They were not common.
Right. So Dave and I, there's a payphone in the commons of our church, and Dave and I don't have any money. We're probably 7, 8, 9 years old, somewhere around in there, maybe 12.
Yeah,
maybe 12. I don't know, somewhere 9
probably
to 12.
yeah, like approaching around double digits.
Sure. So Dave always talked me into doing ridiculous things, and so I'm sitting there and we're messing with the payphone. We're talking about like, man, it'd be nice to have money to make a phone call. Not that we knew anybody's phone number, or I don't know who we would call.
Right.
But you talked me into saying like, if you dial 911 with other numbers around it, it doesn't call.
Right. Because I thought we can
911.
We can do it because we didn't put any money in it. I
Right.
knew you have to put money in a payphone.
Right.
And so we dialed 911. I dialed 911.
I was holding the handle. You dialed 911.
And I remember you having it and looking at me with this panic in your eyes and said, "It's ringing."
Yeah.
And I said, "What?" And I grabbed it and put it to my ear, and I heard it ring, and
we just
gave it back to you.
I just hung up.
And no, you said, "There's a guy talking."
Oh yeah, I did say that.
And I said, "What?" And I took it and said, "Hello." And I remember hearing a guy go, 911 emergency, what, or 911, what's your emergency? And looking at, and we just went click.
Click. We're like, okay, good.
Yeah, and thinking, wow,
We got out of that
was
one.
close. And then to our horror and shock, the phone started ringing. No!
And David and I looked at each other.
Why is it ringing?
Why are we ringing?
Surely this is a coincidence.
Right.
Because for you young people, you actually could call payphones. Every payphone had its own number. It's like these other things people used to have called home phones.
And at that time, like in the comments area, like I always used to get in trouble. You always used to get in trouble of like being rambunctious or doing things in the comments
we
after
were
mass
very rambunctious.
that we weren't supposed to be doing. And so all of a sudden, the phone's ringing. We're standing next to the phones, and my parents and your parents start looking at us.
Right, because we're both standing by the phone and it's ringing, and we're both looking over at them with these guilty looks on our face.
Right.
So my dad came and answered the phone, and he talked to him for a minute, and the whole time I remember just sitting, looking up, staring at him like, oh my gosh.
And I just remember thinking like, I can't
What
believe
is going to happen?
they've talked me into doing this.
I can't believe it rang. How did it know where we were?
Yeah.
I didn't know technology even back then, so anyway, my dad said, no, there's no emergency. And I told him, like, we were calling numbers with 911
In the number.
in it. And
It just started ringing.
Please don't kill me.
Yeah. I think I was very unvirtuous, and I think I just totally threw you under the bus with my when I was telling my parents. It's like, Dave basically did it. He forced me to do it. I didn't want to do it. I was trying to talk him out of it.
I told him not to.
I was wanting to go pray the rosary, and
Right.
he was like, no, let's go dial 911.
I was like, let's go get some more holy water. And
Right.
you were like, no, let's dial 911 and, stuff.
Anyway, so there's a 911 story for you.
Next time we'll have to tell the story about how I caught the line drive in T-ball.
I was gonna say, like, we have T-ball stories, we have small faith group stories, we have
Yeah.
a lot of different stories growing up. We can do this. So, but we don't have very much more time. Let's talk about the drink that we are receiving. We're drinking.
Okay, what is it? Because I'm not familiar with it.
Well,
Yamato? Yamato?
Yamato. So, I decided, like, we had a whiskey.
Do you read Japanese? So you
I do.
you weren't reading
I'm
the
almost,
English.
No, I'm.
You were reading the
I basically
Japanese.
speak and read Japanese.
Yeah, because
I
Yamato.
basically do it.
There, that's me speaking Japanese. When I
Right.
say that, that's Japanese.
Right, Mitsubishi. So I decided.
Kawasaki.
I decided we had a Japanese whiskey last week with Andrew Pudawa, and I thought, hey, it'd be good to kind of piggyback off of that
Yeah.
and have another Japanese whiskey. So I'm not actually all familiar with this whiskey because there wasn't a whole lot of reviews on it. People were talking about it potentially not being an actual whiskey, because it may not be aged long enough. I don't know.
So it's not bonded.
Yeah, it's not. It's definitely not
Yeah,
bonded.
because the one we had before was only 2 years old.
Right, but this is
But to be like whiskey, it has to be like a couple. I mean, it only has to be like a couple months or something, right? I mean,
this one is a small. It's small batch, and I poured a little glass for Haley as we were waiting for you, and I asked her what she thought, and she said this is very, very good. It's very smooth, very easy to drink, very drinkable.
Yeah.
If you like bourbon, I feel like this is in fact, it reminds me actually of a Buffalo Trace type of bourbon.
See, when I took my first sip a second ago, I said, wow, that's the smokiest whiskey I've ever had. And then I realized Juan was smoking his pipe right next to me. And so I thought, oh, maybe I should give it another shake.
Yeah, it's very bourbon-esque. A lot of wood, a lot of like the bourbon taste.
Yeah, it does have a lot of that bourbon, kind of the honey.
Yeah, vanilla, a little
vanilla
bit.
and honey. Yeah, exactly.
So it's very good. It's very drinkable. It's not a super long finish, but
and see, they spell it just SKY.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Not SKEY.
Right.
Which I think most Japanese whiskeys go with just the SKY.
It's from the same distiller, the Aiko.
Okay, I don't know.
From last week as well.
Okay.
So anyway, it's 40% ABV. It's a very, very drinkable whiskey.
So the tariffs that were put on Scotch, that was just Scotland, or was it all whiskey? I mean, so is there a tariff now on Japanese whiskey and Irish whiskey?
I think there's at least Irish whiskey. You know what? I don't know all the,
because I wonder if that's going to make
ins and outs.
Certain.
I know that Lefroy
gets now $60.
$60. Like when we first started the Catholic Man Show,
$15.
Yeah, when we first started the Catholic Man Show, I remember getting Lefroy at like $45.
$42, my friend.
Yeah,
$42.
Right.
I mean, that was a good price, but still, I regularly was buying it at $42.
And now it's at 60. I took a picture.
Yeah,
of it
you sent it to me.
I couldn't believe that it was.
At the place in town that usually has good prices.
And Lagavulin 16 is at $100.
Yeah.
When we first started, like that was the expensive one at $65. It's like, okay, yeah, I'll do it once. But yeah, whiskey prices have been going up. This is very drinkable though.
Yeah, it's not my favorite, but you're right. It's very drinkable. It's a nice drink.
I think it was about $35.
Okay.
$35.
All right, that's good. I like that.
When we get back, we're gonna jump into the gear. We actually have a man gear today.
Nice.
So we'll be right back. What do you think about bringing in like youth stories?
Beautiful. I really liked it.
You like it, Juan?
Yeah.
I was sitting there thinking earlier.
Is that the basketball story?
No, we've not told the
Have we
basketball
not?
story.
Are you sure?
We've made references to it.
If we have, it's probably like in the first 10.
Yeah, it's been a long. I mean, we've made references to the basketball story, but there have been great, like some really good stories of ridiculous things that Dave and I have done. I was thinking about earlier today. Actually, last night I texted Dave's mom and I was like, "Hey, if you have any pictures of Dave and I from like growing up, here's a few that I have. But if you find any while we're quarantined or not doing anything anyway, send them my way, because I'd love to see them." And so she's gonna be pulling up some of those anyway. And so it reminded me of like all these ridiculous things that Dave and I used to do. I thought I'm gonna make a new thing on the show, unless everybody hates it, and then I won't do it.
Well, by this point, you've said all the notes that you know. You've said all the adjectives for the notes. So it's like you might as well.
It has a little.
You always say the same. You might as well just change it out.
So there's a little buttercream taste to it.
There you go.
Hey, David Pearson, my shirt is not a Home Depot shirt. You have to look closer. Can you give him hit him with the shirt, Juan? Which angle you at?
Dave, your camera over there.
It says, "The Holy Spirit. You can do it. He can help.
He will help.
He will help.
He will help."
Okay. And yes, I have that laptop up today because my printer is out of ink, and because we're gonna be talking about Adoration today, I wanted to make sure I have my notes and I don't have paper, so
Can I get it to top up before?
I'm pulling. Yeah, here you go, Juan.
Do you remember like growing up and you have the home phone that had, and everybody had one in their kitchen with like the 30-foot cord?
You did. We never did.
You didn't have the super long
No,
cord?
we never did.
What?
And I remember going over to your house because you always had the ridiculously long cord.
Oh yeah.
And thinking like, that must be so nice.
You could go all the way to the living room, which is like the other side of the house.
Yeah, we never had.
And
that.
you could sit on the couch.
But we were one of the first ones to adapt the cordless phone.
Ooh, the wireless. Yeah, that was a
the
big
cordless.
deal. Yeah.
With the long antenna.
Yeah, in case you went like too many walls.
Right, unless, yeah, that was
I have
good.
a really good home phone story. Can I say it?
Sure. I don't know if people can hear. Oh, yeah. Come on. Juan wants to tell a story. Margot says this is like 3 months worth of non-shaving, Margot. Why would I shave all of a
So
sudden?
in our home phone system, my parents had a phone in their bedroom, and if you pick up any of the phones, it had a little light bulb that went on,
Okay.
so that you knew if somebody
Was
talking.
okay.
Well, there was this girl that used to call, and we'll talk long into the night.
Mm-hmm.
And she started seeing the light, and she would come and give me a schooling. Say, go to sleep, hang up, go to sleep. So I would sneak into my mom's room, unplug her phone, then go make the
Wow.
call, and then I'll go plug it back.
How deceiving of you.
Yeah. Well, one day I forgot to plug it back because I fell asleep while I was talking. And the next morning, she noticed that it wasn't plugged, and I was like, what happened? Oh, of course Juan did it. Well, she didn't say anything, but she waited for me. She pretended to be asleep, and then when I went back in there to like unplug it, oh man, I got it. I just got it.
You got in trouble.
I got in trouble.
Right. You got in
trouble with my mom's hand.
Right. Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah, take a lesson from the Board of Education.
Okay. Let us continue.
It is right and just. But yeah, dude, the cordless phone with the curly cord, and it would always there was nothing you could do to
untangle.
It was always twisted.
Always jacked up.
It didn't matter how many times you untwisted it.
I know.
5 minutes later, it would be like.
I know. Ridiculous. Uh-oh.
Warning. The
Juan.
Catholic Man Show contains
Juan.
high levels of manliness. It's
No.
simple, really. You either
It's on
want to grow
B-Mix
in
that you're
virtue
doing
and
that.
holiness, or you want to be a sissy
We gonna
whiny
help him?
baby. If you choose to move forward,
Juan.
grab your whiskey glass, because the Catholic Man Show is starting right now.
You know what? The Catholic Man Show's already started. It's already done. We've already done this. All right, there we go. Pamela, I'm not Dave, but I can. Actually, no. Oh, Joan is listening, and so she heard that story.
Oh no.
Yeah, so it was basically Joan that he was talking to in the middle of the night, even though he did not know her, but he was talking definitely about Joan.
Sure, it was definitely. Well, he may have been talking to another girl, but probably talking to her about Joan.
Right. How
Like,
virtuous she is.
About advice, about how to, how do I talk to her?
Right.
You
I agree.
know.
Okay.
Do you think she would like long hair or short hair?
Pamela's doing well though. She's
Pamela is doing well.
going to be giving birth probably on my birthday.
You think so?
I think so, June 2nd.
Mm-hmm. Could be good.
It'd be a super holy day.
My brother-in-law Drew, he turned 34. He's in his mid-30s now.
Drew's 34?
Yeah.
I was about to say he's older than me, and then I realized no. Oh yeah, he is.
He
I'm
is older than
33.
you. Yeah. Yeah, he's older than you.
He is. Man, he is so old.
He's real old, man.
All right.
I told him next year, you'll be halfway to 70. Halfway.
It's ridiculous.
And 33% of the way to 110. It's incredible.
You never want to do that.
Third of the way there, man. Welcome back to the Catholic Man Show. I'm David Niles. Everybody come see how good I look. This is Adam Minahan. Show the mustache.
You like that? Juan, can we do something to show?
Can we hit him with the mustache cam? Do we have the mustache cam?
Remember whenever you
queued
did the mustache cam?
Yeah.
If you guys are just listening on the radio or podcast, make sure you go to our YouTube page.
It's way more fun on
Because-
YouTube. Things are more fun there. Or on Facebook.
Juan gave a story in between segments that you won't be able to hear unless you subscribe to our YouTube channel. So make sure you do that. So Dave, Pamela's doing well. She's
doing
going to
well.
be giving birth in a few months,
Yeah,
couple months.
She's just radiant.
Let's see, what is this? April, so May, June, so 2 months.
Yeah, 2 months.
2 months away,
Mhm.
which is great. Hopefully on my birthday.
Could
That'd
be.
be great.
Yep. Due day's June 5th, but
Oh, it is?
I
thought it was June 1st.
I think that
Oh, okay.
no,
June 5th.
June 5th. But I think babies, are rarely born on the actual
due date.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So we're going to be talking about adoration today. We've had
I
several.
like adoration, but first we're going to talk about a man gear.
Sure. We've had a lot of people. We've had several people ask about adoration because
Yeah.
we've talked about adoration before.
And
on our
just
show
with stuff.
Right. Casually. Look at that stash. That is like.
Oh yeah.
That is like 6 weeks worth.
Flex it out. Like not like this. You go.
Oh. Yeah, it's pretty good. But before we talk about
That's nice. Here, you want to put this on? This might
no.
This might help your mustache.
No.
It looks
No, I'm
Adam.
good.
It looks better.
It looks
this way.
better
Put
if
this-
you
put
actually
this on, yeah.
if you actually put this on. So we're gonna talk about adoration today. It's but before we do, we're gonna jump into the actual man gear. If this is one of your first times to listen to the Catholic Man Show, we typically have a drink. We talk about a gear, and then we talk about a topic.
Historically, that is what we do.
We've been deviating from
We
it.
don't always do it,
right?
but that's still the format.
Right. It's still the format.
We reserve the right to whatever.
our show.
Do it. Yeah, exactly. We
It's
can
our
do whatever we want.
Right. So this week our gear is called Candle by the Hour. It's a candle,
It's very cool.
but it's very cool because it's great for your domestic church life. We're trying to come up with ways. Speaking of which, go follow us on our social medias because we've been posting a lot of things of like things to do on the domestic. While you're home, while you're quarantined, how to build up the domestic church. On Patreon right now, we're writing a 10-part series on building up the domestic church with our wives that you would be able to have access to. But one of the things about the Candle by the Hour that I really like is that it gives the kids a meter of how much longer prayer is going to be, specifically the rosary. So, Dave, why don't you describe it, and then we'll give a little bit of history, and then we'll jump in.
Okay, so what we have here is a candle. If you just imagine a candle that you might put in like a candle holder, right? Okay, except it's kind of skinny, and this candle is flexible.
It's coiled.
It's coiled, and it's just coiled up, and you can just move it around. It doesn't break. It's typically these are made of
100% beeswax.
right? So it's more flexible. And there's kind of a clamp here at the top, and you pull how much you want to burn through the clamp, and then you let the clamp go, and it kind of pinches the candle. And when the candle burns down
To the clamp.
however much you've pulled through, it will just go out all by itself.
Right. So it used to be called a cording candle.
Yes.
So what used
Or
to
a corded.
Oh, don't.
was
We have wax in the middle there. Don't.
I was going to light it.
Oh, okay. Juan has the lighter. So what used to happen was between the 16th and 18th centuries, courting candles traditionally used during the courtship of young women by a suitor, where the suitor would know that it was time to say his goodbyes after the candle had burned to the metal clip or the base. So what would happen was he was over at the house, the person he was trying to court, the woman he was trying to court.
The young lady. Yes.
I would assume the father.
The dad. The father would decide how big the candle was,
right,
depending on how much he liked you as a suitor for his daughter.
So he would pull it how obviously the further he pulled it, the longer he would have.
Originally, it was not in this design, but they were also called corded candles because they would take 3 candles kind of and braid them together, and so they would form a cord. And so he would cut off a piece, and give it to you, and that's how long you got. I mean, they didn't have this contraption here originally, and so that's kind of the tradition behind them. They weren't just used for cording. They would have been used for other things around the house. But it was like you'd braid them together and you have them like hanging somewhere, and like, oh, hey, we need a candle for, if you have company over, just go clip off however much you think you're going to need. Mm-hmm. But yes, there is that element, which is kind of interesting.
Kind of a cool history.
Anytime that courtship is involved, it gives something, I don't know, the history of something is kind of cooler, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
That like, hey, this used to be part of culture, how they would get married.
Right.
Because marriage ultimately is like our whole culture, our society. So they're very, very cool. We've had one for a long time. It lasts a long time.
Yeah, we've had one.
It depends
for
on
over
how
a
much
year.
you use it. You know, some people will use these every day.
We use ours pretty frequently. So ours, what happens is like basically about 3 inches equals an hour. And so if basically
3 inches equals an hour.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So an inch is 15 minutes. It's
So about inch is roughly about 15 minutes. I mean,
yeah.
give or take. So what we do for the rosary is, you know, when you're praying the rosary and you have little kids, what happens is you get interrupted quite a bit, specifically in the second or third mystery of how much longer do we have? Are we almost done? Are we almost done? You know, how much longer?
Yeah.
And so what we've done is we'll pull about an inch up and we'll light it and we'll pray the rosary together as a family. And the kids, anytime you involve fire in the
Right.
domestic church, it's
Yeah.
always a bonus.
You can take turns who gets to light it, you know.
Except for what happened today, which, by the way, I need to tell you about Luke almost making a bomb today. But
I hear he did make
he
a bomb
actually
today.
did make a bomb today. But so anytime you add fire in prayer is always a good thing. You know, it's always good to keep the kids engaged.
Totally. And it works for me too.
It does work for me as well, yes. But what they can do is they can judge. It's a meter for them to know how much longer the rosary is going to be.
Right.
So there's no more
They can see
asking
it.
questions of how much longer it's going to be. Like, no, you can obviously see we still have more decades to go. Because especially like Anna, she just turned 3. She doesn't have the
Yeah,
concept of 5. Like, she doesn't know, there's 5 decades.
Or we're on this decade or something,
right.
yeah.
So she can see like we're still halfway through, or like we're almost done.
Right.
And so it's really good as a meter to showcase your younger kids how much further you have in prayer life.
Yeah.
That's what we typically use it for.
And it's a candle that is also just going to last a long time.
It is.
The
beeswax,
refills,
the beeswax typically is
and they're not expensive. The refills are not very expensive.
I'm not sure what the refills are, but the whole contraption on Amazon right now, I'm looking at it, is on sale for $24.52.
Yeah, $25.
$25.
I think the refills are like $10.
So
And it lasts a long time, and it's solid beeswax, you know.
We'll add this to our show notes. By the way, Dave, guess what we're doing this week? Starting this week on our show notes.
Holy Week.
Yes, we are doing. But I gave a caveat on our show notes.
Oh. I don't know.
Decisions were made.
Yeah.
We have transcripts for our shows now.
The whole
The
thing.
whole thing. We have transcripts for our show.
Can they handle us like?
Well, we'll see.
We'll
see how that goes.
I presume it's software.
It is software, yes.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I'm gonna try to say
ridiculous.
I'm gonna
things.
try to think of things to say that I think might confuse the software. Like if I say Mary Mac's mother is making Mary Mac marry me, and my mother's making me marry Mary Mac, I wonder what it would say.
Yes.
Okay.
So anyway, what you guys have one of these candles?
Yeah.
What do you guys use it for?
We just use it for various. We use it for various things.
Okay.
But we keep ours in the living room. So if we're gonna if we're gonna pray in the living room, we'll light it sometimes. You know, when we remember.
Mm-hmm.
Like last Friday, we were doing Stations of the Cross, so we lit it.
Yeah.
Lighting a candle adds like
The ambiance.
an element of wonder. You know, an element
Right.
of mysticality.
Mysticality.
Mm-hmm.
That'll catch the software for
Yeah,
sure.
exactly.
You don't even have to try.
It's easy for me.
It's easy for you. But it does. You're right. It does. It adds a sense of awe, a sense of wonder, a sense of, it's mesmerizing. It focuses. I don't know. It like kind of shuts out everything else. If you sit there and stare at a flame, you kind of tune out everything else.
Yeah, it is weird. Fires. It's hypnotic.
We've been lighting it, watching the mass.
And it kind of smells good. The beeswax has a kind of a nice smell. It's not a fragrant.
So
Okay.
yeah, hey guys, I don't know what happened there. We were just talking, and I looked over, and our whole system
Got the coronavirus.
got the
whole thing
and
got
just
corona
shut
and
down.
just
It
Stopped breathing.
I don't know what happened. So I'm really sorry. I don't know what happened. We had to we restarted the computer because that's, you know what? Have we thought about unplugging to 2020 and plugging it back in? Because 2020 has been a little crazy. Maybe we should just like unplug 2020.
I thought you were talking about the Power 220.
Oh no,
at
we
first.
don't do
No,
that. We're not in China.
What the heck are you talking about?
No, like it's 2020. Maybe we should just unplug 2020 and plug it back in.
And reset?
Reset, yeah, like we did here.
Do a hard reset.
Yeah. This would be the perfect time to actually be in have a live audience, because what we would do is we would cut back into the audio that's going to be playing on radio, and everybody would be laughing, and they'd be like, "That was so awesome," and then we'd just keep going, and people would be like, "I missed the joke."
Yeah.
But alas, we're not there.
Opportunities missed.
Right. So,
But people on the YouTube channel, they're gonna be like, "Whoa, what happened to the candle?"
yeah,
It jumped way down right there.
It basically, yeah. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna pick up hopefully about right where we left off, on because
And the radio audience, they'll have no idea.
hopefully they'll have
They're
no idea.
suckers.
They'll have no
They
idea.
fall for anything.
I don't know. We just don't know what happened. Like Juan wasn't touching anything. I look over at the computers. The monitors go black.
What, you looked at it?
I did look.
Well,
at
it's your
it.
fault.
Oh well, it was the stash.
You're not supposed to look at it.
It was my stash. I look over at it,
Ridiculous.
and the monitors are down. Okay, so
They're shy. You know that they're shy, and you're
They
not
are.
supposed to look at them.
and I don't know what happened. So, what we'll do is we'll just kind of count down 3, 2, 1 to make it easy on editing, since we don't edit anything anyway, and just go from there on Cubase. So, Juan, you need
Okay.
to put your pipe down and focus. Juan is over here, like.
I got it when I go 3.
Okay, here we go. 3. Remember, you were talking about the beeswax candle. I
Yeah.
think
So
was
they have a
last
nice,
time. Okay.
fresh scent.
Okay, 3, 2.
I say it.
Oh, sorry, Juan. Juan is the producer. You're right. He says it. Will you please say it in English? No, Spanish.
Portuguese.
Dos.
Yeah, so they have a nice, fresh scent, these candles. They're not overpowering like some other, it's not going to fill your house with
Juan,
some...
you're not even recording.
Uh,
No, you're
No,
not.
you're
Look at
not.
the tracks.
You didn't hit the red buttons,
The red
bro.
buttons are not even recording.
Bro.
So,
You know about the
Juan.
red buttons.
Juan, you know about this. We've talked about this.
We have told you about this.
You want
Alright.
to do it again?
Well, we have to do it again, yeah.
No, you want to keep talking about the red buttons?
No, we don't need to do about the red... unless you need to know more about the red buttons.
I think we're good.
Okay.
3, 2.
So the candles, they have a nice, fresh scent. They're not going to overpower your house with, they're not going to cram it full of flowery smells or
Right.
whatever, even though I do like the smell of vanilla candles.
I think all men... I think they did... Didn't they do it? Didn't you tell me that they did like some
they
survey?
did. Yeah.
And all men like vanilla candles?
They did it for women, too. The most popular scent for women was pumpkin pie.
No kidding?
Yeah.
I would've-
You think that would be the men. Like, I totally get down to pumpkin pie.
Hmm.
So my wife was asking me after Exodus, what do you want? I said apple pie.
That's what you want?
Yeah.
Dude, we made those cookies. Tyler sent us those
Yeah,
cookies from
yeah.
the camp out. Okay, all men who went to the camp out, they know they had the best cookies they've ever had in their whole life. The chocolate chip cookies from Tyler McKee in Houston. He sent us the freaking cookie dough to our house.
Like vacuum sealed in these.
Vacuum sealed, and now I'm going to be... And now we cooked some of them. But when we get back, we're going to continue...
How'd they come out?
Phenomenal.
Oh
When
my
we get
gosh,
back,
oh
we're
my
going to keep
gosh.
talking about it. We're on the Lord's team.
The winning side.
So raise your glass. One, it's on mute. The bumper music is on mute. But that's okay because it's not understanding on vMix because the timing is off on vMix.
Yeah, that's okay.
Well, it's not okay because it's going to be in not 12 minutes. It's going to pull up 12 minutes. So we need to reset.
Yeah, did you hit the intro? Did you hit the intro button though? On
No,
Because it
it was in the middle.
3, 2, 1.
right, yeah. So you just start it now on the next segment
Okay.
because it's not playing anything on vMix right now.
Yeah. Okay. So it should be good. Golly, this has been crazy. I don't know what happened there.
Technology is supposed to make things easier. It just ends up making things complicated.
Okay, so we're gonna talk about adoration. That's the topic.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why.
Something that's not
No,
complicated.
that's
Something that is not complicated.
That's why technology failed, because we're about to talk about.
We're about to talk about adoration.
Something very holy that the devil doesn't want.
I just don't get
Our
it.
computer is holy, okay? These cameras are
Like,
holy.
You just moved the table, like
I did just
yeah, and it I totally whiffed.
I didn't move it that much, did I?
Yeah.
I mean, I just kind of like bumped it.
Well, we're on these Anyway.
But that's not. I mean, like, look
Anyway.
at your glass. It's not moving.
Anyway.
I just feel like, you know, I didn't really do that much.
We're going to talk about adoration is what we're going to talk about.
And Jesus.
Yes, always. All right, Juan.
How do you say always? ¿Cómo se dice always en español?
Siempre.
I don't like that. That doesn't work for me.
From now on, it'll be tiger. All right, let's keep going.
You can't even say tiger right.
Welcome back to the Catholic Man Show. This has been a weird episode. If you're tuning in on YouTube, you understand why it's so weird. If you're listening via radio or podcast, you potentially have no idea.
That's okay.
And that's okay. But you did miss out on the one story, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about, we're drinking a little bit of Japanese whiskey. It's a small batch. I'm sorry, I was about to say single barrel, but it's a small batch. Yamato.
Yamato. Yamato.
Yamato.
You don't speak Japanese.
Well, what happened was there was a smudge right there from the whiskey, and I was reading the tail
I
of...
do see that smudge, yeah.
And I mispronounced it.
It does look like an O.
Yeah.
You're right.
And we just talked about the Candle by the Hour, which was a great gear for the domestic church, especially increasing your prayer life as a family.
Totally.
But
just having cool candles.
You can't
It's kind of a
pass
cool
on what you
candle.
don't have.
Yeah.
And by passing on the example of a prayer life for a dad, it's very hard to do if you don't have one. And, prayer is all about, the relationship of you with the divine. And in order to have that relationship, you have to be in communication. And one of the beautiful things that the church has given us over the years, it's been a development of doctrine, is the adoration.
Mm-hmm.
Adoring the Eucharist.
Yeah, exposition of the Blessed Sacrament.
Right. And we have the heretics to thank for being the catalyst of the development of this doctrine, as most
like so much.
As most of the developments.
The great councils, were all in response to heresy.
So here's something that I found out that I did not know about. Maybe you knew about this. Tell me if you did.
Okay.
There was it's called fermentum. Do you know what fermentum is?
No.
Okay, so back in
sounds delicious.
A long time ago, when Christianity was first starting, and bishops were being made, Christianity was starting to spread, and about 120 is about as far back as it goes that we know of. But there was the rite of fermentum, which was taking a particle of the Eucharistic bread and transporting it from one bishop to another diocese to give to the new bishop. And so it was a act of, you are now part of the church. It was an act of unity. And so what the bishop would do, who received it, the bishop would receive it and they would consume it in the next solemn high mass as a token of unity between the churches. And it was viewed not as a symbol, but as a reality. So that because we're all part of the body of Christ, Christianity was spreading at that time. Bishops were being made in order to show in reality that we are all part of the body of Christ. The bishops, that were already established would break off a Eucharistic piece of the Eucharistic bread and transport over to a new diocese to give to the newly ordained bishop, who would then consume the bread.
Yeah, I like that.
And I think it's important to remember, though, that it was viewed as a reality and not just a symbol of this, of being actually part of the body of Christ. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was really cool. I'd never heard of that before. Had you?
No, I have not.
Okay, so as time is progressing throughout Christianity, hermits were part of the discipline of the church, And I found out also, I always kind of assumed that most hermits were priests, but at the
I don't
beginning,
think so, no.
most hermits were not.
I think they were like lay brothers.
Right. Exactly, like at Clear Creek.
Yeah.
Like
a monk who's not a priest.
Who's not a priest. And so what would happen was priests would come and take Eucharistic bread to these hermits, but they would give them enough, not just for one Sunday or something like that, but give them a substantial amount.
Oh, really?
And so these hermits would take it in their cave, and they would consume some of it, and then they would place it, at the most reverent part in their cave. But they would always take it with them as they moved around, to go do their work or whatever, in fear of rats or thieves or something like that taking it.
Yeah.
And so this idea of moving around the sacrament of the Eucharist, it was so special that they had to make sure that it was always close to them, which I thought was always. But they always knew that because the Eucharist was there, which was body, blood, soul, and divinity of Christ, that this has now become a holy place.
Nice.
So this was kind of like the very beginning stages of Eucharistic adoration. I mean, you can kind of see how this is starting to take form. And then what happened was, as monastic life changed and it became more of a communal aspect, not just a solidarity aspect. It's not just me, but a communal life. The Eucharist would be taken on voyage. Monks would take it with them as they worked, and one of the things that happened was Saint Basil. One of the first ideas of the candles just went out. One of the first ideas of the Eucharistic adoration was Saint Basil would consecrate the bread.
This is Saint Basil the Great.
Yeah, I think so. 379 is
okay.
He would break it into 3 pieces. One would be for him to consume, the other would be for his brothers to consume, and the one he'd place above the altar in reverence. And so again, this was another form of adoration taking place. Well, at the turn of the century, in about 1000, there was an archdeacon named Berengarius.
Okay.
Roughly, I mean, I don't know, who publicly denied Christ was really and physically present under the species of bread and wine.
Stupid. That's a stupid thing
That's
to
a
do.
bad thing to do.
It's just you're just an idiot.
So Pope Gregory VII ordered that he sign a retraction, and he made a statement basically saying, like, no, this is the body, blood, soul, and divinity, and he kind of formulated the development of doctrine of the Eucharist. This is
the bishop did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh no, the Pope, the Pope Gregory the Seventh.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So this is the body, blood, soul, and divinity of Christ. It's not just the body. It's not just the blood. It's not
just
Jesus
the soul,
as the
right.
man. It's Jesus, body, blood, soul, and divinity.
The whole person, everything he's got.
Right. And so what happened was because this, he made this declaration, basically what a Eucharistic renaissance happened throughout Europe, and everybody started taking Eucharistic processions. There were,
because I can see how that would.
They're
really
basically fighting, the Eucharist isn't all of Jesus, and so they said, no, it is, and basically how the pendulum swings, and they say, no, because he's saying no, we're going to do this even more.
Right, but I could see how defining it in that way for the lay, for the faithful, would be so such a gift. Because, they might, know, oh, yes, we're receiving, Jesus said this is my body, when we receive him, whatever. But then to have it defined that way, the body, blood, soul, and divinity. It's like, wow, I never thought about those other parts. I could see how many people just didn't have a life dedicated to philosophy or whatever. Just maybe would not
have thought about it.
Yeah, wow, this really changes the game for them. In that now we have this great definition.
Right.
Definitions are big.
Are important.
Yeah.
And so it was no surprise that in the 13th century they had the Feast of Corpus Christi. They installed the Feast of Corpus Christi, which, Pope Urban the Ninth.
Is he a big fan of the cities? I can't remember.
No, he was more of a rural guy.
He was a country guy.
Yeah.
That's what I'm that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
But he commissioned St. Thomas Aquinas to compose a lot of the Liturgy of the Hours prayers, which
I wish I could have commissioned Thomas Aquinas to do something.
I would have commissioned to do so many more things,
like a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and so it was very interesting though that during this time, the theologians were debating whether a person in the state of mortal sin could worthily gaze upon the Eucharist. Which I think is, I could see that being more,
something you haven't discussed.
Right.
You should discuss it.
We should discuss this. And this is something that I've heard other guys talk about. I'm in the state of mortal sin. Should I be praying? Should I, go to the adoration? Is it even worth my time to do so?
Yeah. Am I wasting my time?
Am I wasting my time because I'm cut off from the graces?
There's one thing like, is it disrespectful for me to be there? And then a separate question is, am I wasting my time in doing it?
Right. So the theologians
the answer is no
conclusion,
to both of those questions.
Right. So they came to the conclusion that it was not only permissible but praiseworthy, that if done in reverent intention, it was likely to obtain for the sinner the grace of true contrition, which is what you need to get back into the state of the grace.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And so they said, no. Not only is it acceptable, but it's praiseworthy to do so. So if you're in the state of mortal sin and you can't get to confession for whatever reason, but in your diocese maybe adoration is happening, still go to adoration.
Totally.
Because it could help you prepare to have a true heart of contrition.
Right. Always go to adoration.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
So there's 5 graces that some of the church fathers have said about Holy Eucharist, which kind of help us talk about adoration.
Yeah.
Spiritual peace.
Totally.
Forgiveness and healing.
Okay.
Transforming in His image, becoming, not my will but your will.
Yeah.
Unity within the mystical body, all the angels and saints, all everybody, and then everlasting life. And many of these,
I like the last one.
The last one's the best one. Yeah. And many of these graces are also present through other types of liturgies, as far as like adoration, like we talked about, not just in the Mass. But so St. John Chrysostom spoke of the joy of consolation, and he hoped the hope that comes from the reverence of the sacrament. This is really cool. It's one sentence I really like. It says, when you see the body of Christ exposed, say to yourself, thanks to this body, I am no longer dust and ashes. I am no more captive, but a free man. Hence, I hope to obtain heaven and the good things that are in store for me, eternal life, the heritage of the angels, and the companionship of Christ.
Nice.
So now that we kind of have a little bit of background, maybe we can just talk about what we do in adoration.
Sure.
So we're on the Lord's team.
The winning side.
So raise your glass.
That was really interesting.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Didn't know
Like
any of those.
when I started like reading all this stuff, I was like, wow. There's a lot of things that I didn't know about in regards to the history of adoration.
Didn't know any of those.
And I actually kind of skipped over some of this stuff, but I just wanted to make sure we got a little bit of the history part and an understanding of like where did it come from, why do we do it, before we talked about like, okay, why is it important for us? What do we do in adoration? There's a lot of guys who have emailed us saying like, okay, you've talked about adoration. What do you do in adoration?
You chill.
Yeah. But, that's
You just chill, bro Baggins, okay?
that I really don't have any more as far as like history stuff. I just wanted to try to get.
Who was that saint I was telling you about?
Oh, St. Julian. Edmund.
who?
St. Julian Edmund.
Yeah.
Edmund.
Yeah.
That was 18th century. That was 19th century.
Okay, yeah, I mean, that's what I was telling you. I don't think he started it, but I think he popularized. He was like the first one to have an order around. It was like charism was adoration.
Right. And yes, absolutely. He was one of the main ones who started like the perpetual adoration. And like there was a lot of things that we could have gone into, like what is perpetual adoration, what is... Because there's a lot of different types of perpetual adoration, I found out.
Really?
Yes. As far as there's like 24-hour perpetual adoration, but there's also like 40 days of adoration. Like the Pope had made a big deal about basically what started perpetual adoration was he said, we all need to pray. So for 40 days, we're going to expose the Blessed Sacrament, and you guys are going to pray in front of the Blessed Sacrament, and there will be people there for 40 days, day and night.
St. Peter Julian Aymard. That's who it was.
Yeah.
Thank you, Margot.
So anyway, so there's a lot of things that I could have gone into, but I was just trying to get the meat of the history so that way we can just talk about more practical reasons why we do it.
Nice. Okay.
Is that good?
I like it.
Are you okay with that?
Yes, I am. Breathe easy, my friend.
So much weight off my
friend.
shoulders now.
My friend.
Don't touch me. The virus. Now I have.
My friend.
Now I have the virus. I've caught the COVID.
You're just a COVID-idiot.
All right, Juan, let's keep going.
Welcome back to the Catholic Man Show. I'm David Niles here with Adam Minahan. We have the Mr. Producer Man, Juan Posada, on the button machine. Tune in next week, guys, because we've got some more upgrades coming for you.
I can't wait. I'm so
It's
excited.
gonna be sweet. It's gonna be sweet.
Yes.
Thank you for all. I just want to say thank you to all our supporters for making this show possible. Brought to you by Adam's Extra Bedroom,
Oh, I didn't know where you were going with that.
called the Studio.
Yes.
Thank you for not having yet so many children where this bedroom was necessary for
For my
for
children.
kids.
Yes. I can't wait.
Someday
though.
maybe. Someday maybe.
But we have
But
big
someday
upgrades.
maybe.
Big upgrades coming this week
Yeah.
for the studio.
Because if you put a kid in here, where are we going to put the humidor? I mean, just think about
That'd
that.
be ridiculous.
Think
they
about
have
that.
to share a room. They need to share a room.
Think about
They
that.
need to sacrifice a little bit.
Right. And where would we smoke our pipes?
Right. I mean, we bought these filters. Like,
I'm just saying.
I agree.
I'm just saying.
I agree with you.
Anyway, so we're talking about adoration.
Yes.
I'm really glad that you chose this topic today, Adam, because adoration is something I'm very fond of. It's very close to my heart. The particular devotion to praying before our Lord in the blessed sacrament, and just I just think there's so much dignity in exposing the Lord this way. You put him in the monstrance. I just recently learned like the cool old school word for monstrance.
Lunar.
No, it's not the lunar. That's the moon.
Okay.
It's something else. It's like something monstradorium or something. But anyway, it's a cool word. It's a cooler way. It's like if you want to be more hip, like more hipster in your Catholicism,
That's what you go with?
you know, it's like, oh, monstrance.
Yeah.
I use this other word because it's older, you know. So anyway, hopefully in your diocese, adoration is still going on. It's not going on in everywhere in all dioceses. Like even here in our diocese, some places have had to close it down. Other places have not.
Right.
Our parish has not. We're doing it in the main sanctuary.
Mm-hmm. So it gives it more room.
So there's a lot of space for you to spread out, you know,
Right.
and I think that works great. Now, some churches might not have a space where
Right.
people could be spread out, you know, and I get that. But hopefully there is a place in your diocese where you can go to adoration. If you had an adoration hour and your church cancels your adoration hour is not canceled if you can go somewhere else, you know, reasonably speaking. Because your date was with Jesus, not necessarily at a place. I mean, you had a certain time to fulfill. So would like to encourage you to
continue.
show up for your adoration hour, even if it's somewhere else.
Okay.
You know, I think that'd be a good thing to do. We just need to stay connected in these times. But I have a Monday and a Friday adoration hour, and one thing that I have started doing lately, which has worked out really, really awesome, and can work out great for you if you have children about this age. But I have small children. My oldest is about to be 5, and the first day of the first adoration hour of the month, I take one of them with me. It's 5:00 on Monday, and so we'll go to adoration together, and then we'll go out to dinner together. So just me, and I take one at a time.
Oh, nice. So it's a little date.
So it's a
night.
date, yeah. It's you know, so we'll go to adoration and then go out to eat.
Get Brahms ice cream
Yeah,
or whatever.
yeah, exactly. I mean, I let them pick. Like, where do you want to go? Because they don't.
But you plant the seed.
Well, they're not going to pick, you know, like mahogany or
Right.
some.
But you want ice cream.
Yeah, they're probably going to pick Chick-fil-A.
Yeah. That's,
You know,
that's my boys go
I'm
to.
fine with that.
Yeah.
So, I have really, really enjoyed it, and they ask me when when are we? When is
That's
it
a
going to be
great
my
idea.
turn to do it again? And they are small, so you kind of have to, if you have an adoration hour with somebody and they're kind of crotchety, they might not like your 2-year-old being in adoration because it's very difficult for them to stay quiet
Right.
for a whole hour. So either, like maybe you don't go for the whole hour. If you have a 2-year-old, maybe they're not old enough. Just, see how it is. But that has just been awesome. I've really enjoyed that because it's teaching them to love going to adoration with me, and they get to see me praying.
Right.
It's good on so many levels.
Okay, so outside of that, when you're going to your regular adoration hour by yourself,
Yeah.
what do you do? Because I know a lot of guys are asking, like, okay, I get it. I should spend time with Jesus.
Yeah.
What the heck do I do? It's an hour long. I don't have to, it's not like liturgical, so it's not like I'm participating in a specific regiment or rudimentary acts, I guess.
Ostensorium. Margot Googled it. That's the word for monstrance.
Okay.
Focus
Focus
Ostensorium. Isn't that a much cooler word?
That is very cool.
Yeah, it's like, we're beholding Jesus in the ostensorium. Anyway, so here, I'm going to give you 2 answers to your question about what I do in adoration. I'm going to give you the answer about what I actually do, and then what I would like to do. Like,
Okay.
Here's what my adoration hour looks like. Here's what I wish it looked like.
Okay.
I come in. I pray the rosary. But before I do that, I just take a few seconds and just be like, hey, Jesus, what's up? Before.
Hey, Jesus, what's up?
Yeah, I just say hi.
Okay.
Because I used to just come in, boom, start praying the rosary, and I realized coming in, I'm not even acknowledging him. I'm coming here to be in his presence, and I didn't even say hello. Jesus is a person,
Right.
so we should say hello to him. If you were there and I was coming to visit you, I wouldn't do that
You
to you.
walk in and just start talking without acknowledging hello.
Right? Yeah, or just sitting down to eat. If
Okay,
I was
I
coming
get it.
over to eat, I wouldn't come in and just sit down at the table and start eating.
Right.
Well, I was here to eat.
Right.
So yes, I sit down, say hello, I pray the rosary, and then I will very often read. Well, actually, now it's been Exodus 90. I've been doing my 20 minutes of silent prayer. So by the time I come in, say hello, say the rosary, 20 minutes of prayer, that only left me about 10 minutes to read. So my reading has really slowed down.
Sure.
But I actually think that is makes for a better adoration hour, because otherwise it's more of how much I'm here just to read, and it really should be, if you're going to read an adoration, you should be reading something that only is like the launching point for your contemplative time together with Christ, because you really should be in his dialogue. I mean, that's that's the better form of prayer. I mean, there's nothing, sacred reading is good, and it's good to do that in front of Jesus. I kind of have different, it's like, is it okay to smoke a cigar while you pray? No, but it's okay, but it's great to pray while you smoke a cigar. Okay, so if this is like your one adoration hour, don't spend your time just reading all the time. But if you are going to be doing reading, go do it in adoration. That's great. You see the difference there?
Sure. Yeah, and that was something that when I first started adoration, I was trying to get through a bunch of things. It's like, okay, I want to do
check this out. This is my only time where I can check this off the list.
And then I want to do the Divine Mercy, and then I want to make sure I read the Gospels, and then I want to, I was had this regiment, and then I realized, no, I'm here to be with Jesus. And so when I go into adoration now, I have 0 plans. Most of the time, I start out 5-10 minutes of just gathering myself, my intellect, like my interior. I try to interiorly silence myself, quiet myself.
Okay.
And then maybe I start praying the rosary. Maybe I don't. I mean, I very rarely finish the rosary in adoration, because what ends up happening is I'll start praying it, and then it'll trigger something, some kind of meditation, some kind of idea, or something that I wanted to focus on, or I don't know, something that maybe Christ wanted me to focus on.
Yeah.
And one of the deacons here in our diocese, I was telling him, I really struggle with adoration and what I should do, and he said, "Why? You're there to spend.
Do anything. Yeah.
Do you're there to waste time.
Do
with
anything
Christ.
and do nothing.
And And so if he leads you somewhere in your meditation, you shouldn't take that away. You shouldn't block that off. And so he said, if you're praying the rosary and in your prayer, you are taken to this idea of, of deeper meditation, don't feel like that you have to continue praying the rosary. Go. Fall deeper into this meditation of whatever the mystery it is or whatever you're thinking about. And so for me personally, possibly.
Because also, if you're easily distracted, that demons could just say, "Oh, hey, if he starts praying the rosary, just pop this idea in his head, and he will bite every time."
Sure.
I've heard it said that if you have a distraction in prayer, acknowledge it and put it away,
right,
and go back. If it happens again, name it and put it away. It's like, oh, rice farmers. Yeah, okay, yeah, rice farmers. Okay, and go back to praying. If it comes back again, you just say, okay, yes, I'm being distracted by these thoughts of rice farmers, and put it away. If it happens a third time, then you stop what you're doing to pray, but only if you've acknowledged it twice and kind of tried to put it away.
There's a story that said, like, a farmer went to adoration every single day, and people were asking, like, what do you do in adoration? Because I do nothing, but I look at him and he looks at me.
Yeah, the something cure of ours, the cure of ours,
and so
something like that.
A lot of times I try to take that mentality of I just sit there in his presence and look at him, knowing that he's looking at me.
Yeah.
And when I walk in there, I would try to mentally prepare and think, like, he has waited 2,000 years for this moment to spend with me.
Yeah, it's pretty powerful.
He has waited for this moment to spend with me, and so I should take advantage of this, because he wants to give us all these graces. He wants to give us these things. And so,
speaking of graces, there is a plenary indulgence offered by the church for 30 minutes spent before the Blessed Sacrament.
Nice. It's just really good. Adoration is so good to calm your senses. God speaks in silence. Cardinal Sarah, The Power of Silence, in his book, he talks all about that. That's a huge benefit to the church. You should go check that out if you want to learn more about silence. But it'll increase your prayer life.
In such a good way. The best way, really.
We're on the Lord's team.
The winning side.
So raise your glass.
And cheers to Jesus.
I mean, the idea of adoration is just to fall deeper in love with our Lord. So if the rosary brings upon falling deeper in love with our Lord, then that's what you should do.
Yeah. I've learned to slow down. I used to be this way too. Like a lot of people are this way. Very goal oriented, like gotta pray my rosary so that I can do this, kind of like what you were saying. And then one day I realized, like, I don't gotta do that. I can take all the time I want praying my rosary.
Right.
Like I can just really slow down and like really contemplate and like maybe stop praying and just think.
Yeah.
Like I don't have to, just because I finished the Hail Mary doesn't mean I have to immediately start the next one. Like that blew my mind. I could just wait.
Stop. Yeah.
I could just wait. There's also an indulgence for praying the rosary before the Blessed Sacrament.
Yes.
And I like to get all those. I'm
a big fan of indulgences.
I'm like a hoarder for indulgences.
Wow.
I'm like hoarding them.
Wow.
As much as I can.
It's not a bad idea.
Yeah. Did you watch the Pope's thing the other day?
You have to be a little bit more specific.
Would he be
His blessing?
Yeah,
across the
Ubi,
the whole world?
Yeah. Did you watch that?
Yeah.
The Ubi thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. There was an indulgence for that, a plenary indulgence. With the reception of communion and confession
Within
is
30
waived.
days.
Waived.
Oh, nice.
They're all waived right now.
because of right now. Yeah. That makes sense.
So the Pope has waived the requirements of confession and reception of Holy Communion for all indulgences, for all plenary indulgences. So you still have to have total detachment from all sin, which is always the kicker. That's the kicker.
I'm pretty good at that, actually.
Yeah, I'm detached.
And by saying that, I'm prideful, thus I'm not.
Right.
It's like humility. Like as soon as you acknowledge that you're humble, you're no longer humble because you are now breaking. You're now realizing.
I don't know that that's true. I mean, I hear people say that. I think like you could say, no, like I am humble. Moses did when he wrote. Moses was the most humble man in the world, like that ever existed, or whatever he said. He wrote that about himself in all humility.
Right.
I mean,
most church fathers would disagree with that.
Well, I think that,
or at least the
I think
ones that
that you
I've
can
read.
say,
When I say most church fathers, like, that is a bad statement. I should not say that, because it's like, I've read 3 people who have said this. Thus, all the church fathers say this.
I don't even know who they all are.
Yeah, so I apologize. That's stupid of me to say.
But I think that it's possible that you could say, no, I'm humble. I could say, I mean, I don't know why you couldn't recognize, if it's possible to recognize a virtue in yourself, you could say, yes, I'm charitable. I'm honest. I'm an honest person. I do tell the truth. I am charitable. I am all these other virtues, and yet somehow all of a sudden we can't recognize humility. Like, if we possess it, we possess it. And if you possess it, you shouldn't say, no, I don't possess it, because that's worse.
That's false humility, yeah.
That's worse. Now you're denying a gift. No, God hasn't given me that gift, you know?
So you and I met Father Paul Murray. Remember him?
Yeah.
Okay, so listen to this. So Father Paul Murray is a Dominican priest. He was a spiritual advisor, or spiritual advisor for Mother Teresa. Isn't
For
it?
a while, yeah.
For a little while?
She had several.
Yeah, a spiritual advisor for Mother Teresa. He came to Tulsa probably 5-6 years ago, and Dave and I went with our wives, and I asked this ridiculous question about being distracted in prayer. Right? I was like, I'm distracted in prayer. How would I, how do you recommend combating being distracted in prayer? And if you remember his answer, he said something like, the Lord would be laughing so much knowing that me, a man who is distracted in prayer all the time, is giving advice to you, about not being distracted in prayer. Well, it turns out that year he wrote a book called Aquinas on Prayer, and it talks about the Aquinas' poetry, his prayer, and his biblical analysis that he wrote. And it all talks about like how to basically formulate prayer according to Thomas Aquinas. I'm listening to it on an audiobook right now. That's how I found out. He freaking wrote the book and then made it sound like, oh, it's ridiculous that I'm the one who's telling you this because I don't know anything about it. Although I just did a whole thing on Aquinas and prayer. And I looked back and it was like 2014, which is like about right when we met with him.
Hilarious.
So, but the book is phenomenal.
Really?
It goes through like a lot of the poems that Aquinas wrote and a lot of the his prayer life, which is very hard to come by. I guess the first author of or first biographer of Aquinas, we found new stuff from him within the last 5, 6, 7 years that was written.
Where?
I don't know. I mean,
It's
this is what has been exposed. Like in the last 6, 7, 8 years.
Chilling in a cave somewhere?
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of like Louis de Montfort, like, right? It was all of his stuff. We wouldn't know anything about him, but it was buried in the ground, and they unburied it. You know?
Right, yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know exactly where they came up with it.
Isn't
where
that
they found
hilarious?
it. But, so it talked, because St. Thomas Aquinas very rarely used the used I in his writing. Talked about himself.
Yeah.
Very, very rarely. But his biographers talked about, like, here's his prayer life, here's what he was doing. Anyway, the book is absolutely phenomenal. It's called Aquinas at Prayer. Let me make sure I say that right. I'm pretty positive that's what it's called. Aquinas at Prayer.
Can you be positive by degrees?
Yeah.
Can you be pretty positive? Or you are, or you aren't?
No, either you are or you aren't.
Yeah.
Aquinas at Prayer, the Bible, mystical, and poetry.
The Bible, mystical, and poetry?
Mysticism and poetry. By Father Paul Murray.
Poetra?
Can I also tell you this text message that I sent Thomas Lackey today?
Sure.
It's really funny. Or at least I thought it was funny. Because it's a conversation that Haley and I had.
Okay.
And, okay, so here's what it said. Me talking to Haley said, babe, is the power of existential inertia metaphysically parasitic to the substance of that said power? And then Haley says,
the power of what?
The power of the existential inertia metaphysically parasitic to the substance of that power. And Haley said, I have no idea. Ask Thomas Lackey.
Yeah.
And I said, ooh, good idea. And she said, no, actually, wait until tomorrow, because I have a feeling you guys would discuss this for a long time. I don't want you to be on
Wait.
the phone. Don't do that.
Don't do it
And
yet.
so, like, I sent him that text message of our conversation, and he laughed, and then he said, I'm going to say no, by the way, because the power is not an independent existing thing, it is a label or description of the substance in act. And so he goes through all this stuff, and then I start asking him questions because, anyway, we had this whole conversation about powers and substances, and Haley asked me, she goes, what are you doing on your phone?
I told you not to do it yet.
I was like, I'm talking to Tom, and she said, I told you not to talk to him yet. It was really good.
That is pretty good. I think I would have also said no, but it would have been kind of a stab in the dark. You know, like, I'm feeling a no.
Dart and landed on no, so I'm going with that.
Yeah, no felt right. It
Yeah.
just felt right.
Yeah.
And I always use feelings
Feelings never lead you wrong.
for the right answer.
Right, yeah.
I use feelings.
Right. Anyway, that's all I have.
Okay. Easter is coming.
Easter is coming.
I cannot wait.
Oh,